One of President Obama's key nuclear objectives in 2010 is to rally the international community to provide a firm, joint response to Iran's violations of the Non-Proliferation Treaty in its nuclear program. But stopping that Iranian program will not be easy.
It's going to be very hard to stop Iran from moving down the nuclear weapons path. We've already seen under basically 5 presidents now what they've been trying to do. Both Bushes, Reagan, Clinton, Obama. Their nuclear program goes back at least until the mid-'80s, and yet we've never managed to convince the Iranians to shut down their program.
In the short term, are they able, through very astute short-term tactics, to get away with continuing to enrich uranium? Yeah.
You're playing a long-term strategy while the short-term developments are moving fairly fast and in an unfortunate direction.
An alternative proposal for Iran is already on the table, as the head of the IAEA sets out.
In October last year, Dr. Mohammed El-Baradei made a good proposal to move the low-enriched uranium from Iran to Russia, enrich it up to 20%, move it to France, and manufacture it into fuel and bring it back to Iran. I find this is a fair, realistic proposal and support it. But I don't have the answer from Iran.
I can tell you that he knows the address of the IAEA. He knows what is expected of him. He can respond at any time, and we would still welcome a good faith, legitimate, genuine response. But we are, as you know, waiting.
So do the Iranians need more carrots or more sticks to convince them?
The Iranians don't like the word carrot. They associate that with donkeys, they say. And I try to remind them that the chief, one of the biggest parties in the United States, has a donkey as a symbol, so it shouldn't take that seriously. I think that an incentive for Iran to go along with a settlement of some kind would be to offer them guarantees against attacks from the outside and subversion from the inside.
Trying to gather an international consensus on Iran has formed the core of President Obama's approach.
In our determination to prevent the spread of these weapons, rules must be binding. Violations must be punished. Words must mean something. The world must stand together to prevent the spread of these weapons.
But which audience is he trying to convince the most?
The audience precisely is the Brazils of the world, the South Africas of the world, those that want to see a more equitable international order and who will not involve themselves and invest a lot in enforcing a double standard.
I understand those who protest that some countries have weapons that others do not.
The existing nuclear order is a double standard. It says a few of us get to have nuclear weapons, the rest of you guys don't.
It's certainly a test of whether or not he can bring together the international community to forge a common position to try to deal with that program. The approach that he took on this was that if he reached out to Iran and Iran snubbed him, that he would be in a stronger position to get the international community to support the United States' effort to apply significant pressure to Iran.
This is also a matter of perception. While the West tries to show what is happening in Iran, Iran is also trying to convince any wavering countries.
They misperceive what's being done to Iran as somehow taking away Iran's nuclear rights, which actually isn't the case. Iran violated the terms, and so it's not losing its nuclear rights. But I think others, Iran casts it that way, and others say, I don't want to do anything that would limit my rights. To the extent that's happening with Iran, I support Iran.
But what Iran projects as its rights are actually already guaranteed by the Non-Proliferation Treaty.
Under the NPT, Iran has the right to develop peaceful civilian nuclear energy.
The next stop, without some kind of response from Iran, is probably stiffer sanctions. What effect can they have?
The sanctions that we're putting on are not a direct way to stop a bomb program. They're certainly not a direct or effective way to convince Ahmadinejad to change his stripes.
The problem for the president is that, you know, even if it's true that they come together behind stiffer sanctions, it still doesn't mean that they're going to be able to prevent Iran from going forward. Any country that's determined to develop nuclear weapons is probably going to do so.
Looking around for a viable solution is where the international community is at. Most recognise that sanctions have their limits, but also their uses.
Sanctions aren't a magic wand. What sanctions do accomplish is hopefully to change the calculus of a country like Iran so that they see that there are more costs and fewer benefits to pursuing a nuclear weapons program.
In the debate about sanctions, the typical argument is, look, sanctions are stupid, we shouldn't do them anymore because it's not going to change Iran's strategy. But people are missing the other point of sanctions. Sanctions is to change behavior, but it also can be to punish and to send a signal to somebody, look, there are these rules, you may choose to break them, but there's going to be a cost, and we will maintain that cost even if we can't change your behavior, there'll be a penalty. That's partly the message to the next guy.
It's not just important if there are sanctions. Almost equally important is when they would be imposed.
It would be unfortunate were the Security Council to act during the month of May when we have the NPT review conference in session. Were the Security Council to act and adopt stronger sanctions, there would be absolutely no incentive for Iran to be accommodating.
A further concern is what knock-on effects sanctions could have. Could they, for example, lead to more proliferation by Iran? And could other regional neighbours follow Iran down the nuclear path?
The more sanctions we will be imposing on Iran, there will be more incentives for Iran maybe to sell in the black market whatever technologies may be purchased at high price.
We're trying like heck to hold the line against Iran, possibly being tempted to cross it. That's a work in progress at the moment. And of course, if Iran does cross that, then I think we have a serious Middle East proliferation problem with Egypt, Syria, Saudi Arabia. We really have to worry about that.
But the bottom line is that Iran has not yet crossed the nuclear weapons line. There are reasons to believe it may not cross it, and also that even if it did, it would never actually use any weapon it gained.
What gives me more hope about Iran is that I don't see that they really deeply have safe security reasons to go for nuclear weapons. They had with Iraq, but Iraq is gone.
Rational states, even states that we don't like at all, would be very hesitant to use nuclear weapons because there's a clear return address and they would suffer extraordinary consequences.